running a little late. My name is Ariel Pollack. I'm the Acting Consul General at the U.S. Consulate General here in Chennai. I'm very happy to be here at the Hindu Center. I want to thank Mr. N. Ravi and Sam and everyone here for collaborating with us to organize tonight's program that honors the importance of documentaries and filmmaking. I also want to thank Narayan Lakshman and Mr. Sadnan Menon, who are going to join a very special guest in discussion after we watch tonight's film. I think the power of film lies in being able to tell other people's stories. It introduces us to people that we may never meet, takes us to places to which we may never journey. It gives us a view into that world, into these people's thoughts and their experiences. And that's what documentary filmmaker Grace Lee has done in her film Janine from Des Moines that we are going to see tonight. So I've just said her name, but I would like to ask her to stand up. Grace is here with us. She's come out from the U.S. As a part of a program with the State Department called the American Film Showcase. Grace Lee is an independent filmmaker working in both fiction and documentary film. She directed the 2014 Peabody Award-winning documentary American Revolutionary, The Evolution of Grace Lee Boggs, which The Hollywood Reporter called an entertainingly revealing portrait of the power of a single individual to effect change. The film premiered at the Los Angeles Film Festival, where it won its first of 6 audience awards before its broadcast on the PBS documentary series POV. Her previous documentary, The Grace Lee Project, won multiple awards, broadcast on Sundance Channel, PBS, and was called, quote, ridiculously entertaining by New York Magazine. Other feature directing credits include Janine from Des Moines, which you're going to see shortly. It's set during the 2012 presidential campaign, which premiered at the 2012 Toronto Film Festival, as well as another film, American Zombie, which is described as a personal horror film, which premiered at Slamdance and is distributed by Cinema Libre. Grace received her MFA in film directing from UCLA Film School, where her thesis film won a Student Academy Award. And most recently, she directed the Emmy-nominated Makers, Women in Politics, and Off the Menu, Asian America, both of which aired nationally on PBS. So that's a bit about Grace. And without further ado, we will watch Janine from Des Moines, and then Grace will come up and engage in conversation with Narayan, moderated by Sadnan, and take your questions. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
From ABC News Election Headquarters, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer.
And good evening to you. It's great to be with all of you on the West Coast as tonight it begins from sea to shining sea, the presidential election of 2012. And first up, as always, The voters of Iowa gathered now in more than 1,700 precincts, living rooms, churches, general stores, barns, and casting their votes for the Republican to run against President Barack Obama. But we wanted to know more about the man who headed in tonight with that razor-thin lead, and that's Governor Mitt Romney. And ABC's anchor David Muir has been with him all day today. David.
I wanted to show you a moment here earlier today, a supporter approaching Romney saying, if you are elected, if you're sent to Washington, you've got to do something about the job. She doesn't have one, her husband does not have one, and neither of them have health care. Here's what she said to the former governor.
Please, if you win, if you go on to Washington, D.C., just save the small families in America. We're just falling apart.
So moving to listen to that woman, and we thank you, David Muir, but I want to go to ABC's John Carl.
Just save the small families in America. We're just falling apart.
You know, when I decided to get involved in all this, I had no idea how much it would cost me. I had no idea. It makes me question everything I believe in. My name is Janine Wilson. I'm 47 years old, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. Lived here my whole life.
Possible presidential contenders will be in Iowa Monday looking for the support of caucus goers.
Former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum is also back in the Hawkeye state. The two other potential candidates include businessman Herman Cain.
Iowans should challenge presidential contenders. So this is all about what's going to happen in Iowa for the next year. This state is going to become bananas. We're at a turning point. We need to take our country back because the last election was a disaster. This year, I'm going to find the right person to get behind, and this time, I'm going to fight for him. Or her. It could be a her.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to Iowa.
Faith and Freedom Coalition.
One nation, under God. Thank you for our freedoms.
Are you ready to begin the process of choosing Barack Obama's successor here in Iowa?
The American dream is under attack. That's the bad news. The good news is we are fighting back. These people of faith and freedom that are here tonight are people that show up in caucuses and they vote.
That was really exciting. And I got to meet, just every single one of them. It was pretty exciting to meet Rick Santorum at the end there. I think he's really courageous. What a night. So many great ideas. So many things I hadn't thought about,
Well, I think I'm never going to vote for Ron Paul, but...
Well, then it's fair. You'll come to this.
My husband Fred and I, we've been married for over 20 years. Celebrated 20 years a couple years ago. Well, we didn't celebrate it actually on the day because he was out on a run. We have a great relationship. But it hasn't always been easy.
Whatever you want.
We went through a rough patch about a year ago.
Heavenly Father,
Fred had a problem, but we got counseling through our church.
keep it holy,
And he's better now.
keep us strong.
How did you guys meet?
We met at a party. She was going to school. I'd gone to school for a little while, but I don't know. I started driving trucks. She was fun, We were both young and, We got along real well, you know. You know, I guess you got to be friends in a marriage, you know.
Jesus loves me, this I know, 'cause my sisters tell me so.
I go to Bible study once a week. It's led by Darla, who's the wife of one of our pastors. She really makes the themes we're studying relevant in our daily lives.
Yes, Jesus loves me.
Okay, does everybody have their packets?
Yes.
We're starting a new unit, Practical Atheist. Raise your hand if the last thing in the world you want to be is a practical atheist. Okay, good. Keep them up. As I read this list, take them down if you hear something that you think might apply to you. Lover of themselves, lover of money, boastful, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control. Over 90% of Americans say that they believe in God, but hardly any of them fear him. Pastor Don calls it cafeteria Christians. Does anybody know what that means?
Is it when you sort of pick and choose what you want to do rather than doing what God and Jesus really want you to do?
That's exactly right.
My name is Michelle Bachmann. I stand here to announce formally my candidacy for President of the United States.
Bye-bye. Thank you. I just left my client, Ms. Bartlett. I'm a home health care worker, so I went to visit her. She just had surgery. She's got a pretty bad case of vertigo. It just makes me feel good when I can be helpful to somebody who's in that kind of tender spot.
Rita, I'm gonna let myself in.
You know, keeps me busy, keeps me hopping.
I'll see you in 3 days. No sweets. I'm gonna bring those special blueberry muffins the next time I come.
We're going to be heading over to Mr. Prue's house, and you guys are going to really love him. He's a very sweet man. Oh, no. This is disgusting. Right here. Get a good look. What is it? Well, it's a little, I guess you could call it a little murder factory known as Planned Parenthood, that they just let be in the middle. Did you notice it's right next to a school, like a daycare center with a playground and everything? Ironically. I can't even tell you how many times I've protested outside of this clinic. These people are just, they're like murderers. I'm gonna get out of here, it's making me sick.
My brother and his wife are visiting from Minneapolis. They brought my daughter Lissy, who's living with them. She's in college up there. It's exciting because she's really growing up.
Okay, so I couldn't remember what everybody's diets were exactly, so I just made a little bit of everything. Grilled cheese and salad and cream of tomato soup. I figure I couldn't mess it up too bad.
Mom, I'm vegan and so is Tara.
But there is no meat in anything. There's no meat in the soup or the sandwiches or the salad.
No, vegan means no dairy, and there's cheese in the sandwiches, and you put sour cream in the soup, so.
I really appreciate your trying.
Everything tastes great, Jenny. It does.
That is a ridiculous diet.
What do I like about my mom? She is wholesome. She is strong-willed. She just sometimes uses those qualities in a way which is very aggressive. Actually, I was thinking of spending the summer with them up in Minnesota to help open the business.
But I think I told you Pastor Don found a job for you here. You can cater for $12 an hour.
Well, my job there gets 14, so she's very, very opinionated, and so I feel like now that I've been away and gotten some perspective on life, when I come home, we really butt heads a lot more than we used to.
Would have been nice to find out before now that you were planning on not coming home for the summer.
Well,
that's a shocker.
Mom, I'm 20. I'm gonna stop coming home sooner or later.
most about my church is the sermons. They're always about the kind of world that's possible.
God and country has been the theme for this summer. And so in the month of June, we simply talked about really the biblical foundation of our nation and the faith of so many of our founding fathers and what it would be like if you take God out of the equation, take that one nation under God out of, whether it's Pledge of Allegiance, no matter what it is, they don't want to really run with our nation's motto, in God we trust.
We're not afraid as pastors to personally take stands on anything that we believe is right and godly. This summer we have taken an extra strong stand on issues that we believe are pertinent to God and to country.
I'm very serious about talking about marriage biblically. We talked about homosexuality last week. And today we have to talk about the sanctity of life and the preciousness of life.
In 1973, the Supreme Court of our land handed out a decision, Roe versus Wade, Doe versus Bolton. And today, I think we've been punked. We've been fooled. We've been punked about this thing of life. The sanctity of human life.
I think too often pastors and churches have not been engaged in politics. You know, there's no such thing as separation of church and state, right? It's not written in, it's bogus, it's a lie that's been fed downstream, but pastors believe it. I think especially younger pastors believe that they should never speak out against the government or to speak for anything politically. And I think that's just ridiculous.
To be a solid evangelical Christian is one thing. To be a leader of a nation in a world is another. And I do think God has to raise up someone that's strong in their commitment to godliness and righteousness, but also strong in their ability and wisdom to bring the right people around them to lead our nation well, because we are not being led in that way at this time.
One is we could raise taxes on people. That's
Corporations!
Corporations are people, my friend.
No,
We they're can raise
not.
taxes on... Of course they are. Everything corporations earn ultimately goes to people. Where do you think it goes?
I just love this place. This place it's my dream house, you know? It's one of those situations where we drove past this house. We had friends who lived down the road a piece. And we would drive past this house and we would say, oh, one day wouldn't it be great if we could live in that house? And we scrimped and we saved and we worked so hard. I mean, and it went up for sale and we got it. I still can't believe I live here. Here's something funny. This is why I mistrust Mitt Romney. He came to visit Iowa and gave a stump speech about how much he loved delicious Iowa green beans, or famous green beans. He doesn't even know that the famous beans in Iowa are soybeans. It was so elitist. So I am getting on to my Facebook page, or I just like to go on Facebook and kind of connect with my my community. Barack Obama in a crib. He's holding a sickle and a hammer like a communist. That's funny.
So do I support the idea of gay marriage? No, I don't. I think that it's unnatural. I think that it's detrimental and ultimately destructive to so many of the foundations of civilization.
Sometimes I feel like I wish I got paid a little bit more per hour. I wish I had more work right now. It's really gone down in the last couple years, steadily.
Something like contract rummy.
I get like that with double solitaire.
I love double solitaire.
Hey, Janine.
Hi. And contract rummy. You know, Amy and I went to school together. I don't know, it's like the last few years, we haven't spent that much time together.
Okay, I gotta scoot and go make dinner. What did you use in that barbecue marinade that last time on the kebabs? It was so weird and so good.
Horseradish and root beer.
What?
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. So is Lizzie still in school in Minneapolis?
She loves it there. Loves it. We never see her anymore. Well, is Jay still in Afghanistan? I don't know.
Yeah, 3 more months to go. 4 tours. Guess 4th time is a charm, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what I always say? We are the land of the free because of the brave. None of those elitists in Washington would ever send their kids over there, would they?
Right. Okay,
Do give us a call, please. We want to play cards. We'd love to barbecue.
Yeah, definitely. I will. Okay. Hang in there.
Thanks. Bye. We miss you guys.
Most people have no idea what the Tea Party is about. I've met so many folks at these events who, if I just saw them on the street, I'd never know that they shared the same views as me.
100% pro-life.
Once our forefathers had God on their side. And we had more than 200 years of patriotic pride. But now there are people in Washington, they want to tear us down. Welfare mamas, healthcare papas, gonna burn this country to the ground. Don't take my liberty, my liberty. Keep me free from sea to shining sea. Gonna take this country back for you and me. Don't take my liberty.
We are going to restore America's greatness.
Scottsdale down to Miami.
This is a Christian nation under God.
We will no longer live under this tyranny, and Barack Obama will be a one-term president.
Ring the bell of liberty.
And good evening, and welcome to the political center of the universe, Ames, Iowa, site of the 2011 Iowa straw poll. And if history is any indication, somebody's campaign will get a very big lift tonight, and somebody's campaign will not.
This is the Ames straw poll, and it's basically a whole bunch of parties all around Hilton Coliseum and Ames. Usually you get to meet the candidate at one point or another inside here. This is why it's a shame Mitt Romney didn't come, because, you know, you don't get to shake his hand, you don't get to meet him. Oh, can I please have one of those? Thank you so much.
I'm going to give you a free NRA flag when you join. I'm going to give you an NRA bag when you join.
Our right to defend ourselves should not come from the government.
This is all free. And when you join, it's about freedom. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen.
This is where you go to find like-minded people and can have a stimulating conversation and get literature from lots of different causes. You know, it's like a state fair for political junkies. I think the greatest issue for me that matters right now is strong conservative leadership. I want somebody that really knows their mind, knows how to articulate it.
Come on over to the Values Bus, sign up. You can win yourself a flat screen TV, Kindle, or some autographed books from conservative authors. So step on over and sign up.
The Values Bus has been across the state of Iowa, 22 cities, 1,000 some odd miles, promoting marriage, family, life, and religious liberties.
I almost didn't come, you know. It cost $30 to vote. That's a little steep for us right now. But then I got an email from the Bachmann campaign saying that they would buy my ticket.
And you get to hear from all the different candidates and actually get a feel for not just one candidate that you might see on one news show on one night, but it's everything.
Because I got to get my... This is the last picture.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Rick Santorum. And we passed another bill, the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act. In the first two sections of the bill, we outlined almost in brief form why the Supreme Court got it wrong and why we're right and they need to change their mind, and they did. There you go.
Thank you. I just had one question for you. Oh, sure. Thanks. Sorry. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. I know. I keep trying to do. I loved your speech. I loved your speech. What are we going to do to defund Planned Parenthood in this country? It's something that it just plagues me. It really does. You know.
It will be a high priority of my administration to make sure that happens. You count on it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's something that really bothers me. Thanks.
There's a
revolution going on in this country. The worldwide paper currency, which is the dollar reserve standard, has been around for 40 years, and it's on its last leg. So we better be prepared to have monetary reform, and it's not complicated. All we have to do is enforce the Constitution. No emitting of bills of credit, which is paper money, and only legal tender should be gold and silver.
What I saw were reasonable, fair-minded people who loved me, poured themselves into me, and that's the voice.
Here's something that really bothers me. When they say the Republicans are anti-woman, it seems like crazy talk to me. Some of the strongest leaders in our party are women, and I really look up to them. Is holding families together anti-woman? Is choosing life anti-woman? Or defending marriage?
The only way we are going to be able to defeat Barack Obama in 2012 is if you follow me over to the straw poll and cast your vote for me, because I guarantee you, I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and this is a titanium spine right back here.
And I pretty much decided who I wanted to vote for. So they make you dip your finger in ink when you vote. I just think that Michelle Bachmann has a lot more of a chance of getting elected, you know?
But a steakhouse.
That I would enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any chance you can stay through the weekend?
Lissy paid us a surprise visit. It's always wonderful to see her. But it's not the best time, because we're having some financial issues.
Good morning.
How late are you going to be out tonight?
Probably a little bit late. I have my shift, and then I'm going to a tea party meetup.
We need to have a talk.
About what?
I think I'm going to be laid off.
Honey, you always think you're going to get laid off, and you've never been laid off. Silly. There's meatloaf in the fridge. I'll see you later. Have a good day, honey.
I am so excited. My hero, Michelle Bachmann won the straw poll on Saturday, which I just knew she was going to. I just had a feeling in my bones that she was going to do that. So I'm just heading off to the state fair now because I decided, my actions got to follow my words, and I'm going to be flyering for her today at the state fair.
I'm a volunteer with Michelle Bachmann's campaign. Would you care for some literature? No? No? Okay. Thank you. Excuse me, I'm a volunteer with Michelle Bachmann's campaign. Would you care for some literature?
Oh, heavens, no.
Oh, okay. You're not a fan of Michelle Bachmann's?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nor Sarah Palin.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, well, we'll agree to disagree, I guess. Yeah. Thanks.
Campaigning sure is hard. You've got to have the patience of a saint.
Excuse me, I'm a volunteer with Michelle Bachmann's campaign. Would you care for some...
Got to have thick skin, too.
You know, she's just about getting big government out of our schools and getting big government off of our backs.
She was just talking about Michelle Bachmann and how she's for definitely not taxing the big corporations, because when you do that, they can't produce jobs. And I was saying, yeah, I agree with that, because, yeah, they are the ones making the jobs. But on the other hand, where are the jobs? You know, I drive the city bus, and every day, you know, I have people getting on my bus looking for a job, wanting work.
Sometimes I like to sneak off and take in the sights. Relax. I've been coming to the fair my whole life. It's our family tradition.
There's 2 butter cows.
I loved taking Lissy on the rides when she was little. I wish she were here. Fred and I had our second date at the fair. We go every year. So many great memories.
He will stand by his word. I ask you to take a good look at him and support him because I do. Ladies and gentlemen, my husband, Rick Perry.
I grew up on a farm. You want to know how I learned my faith? Be a dry land cotton farmer, and you understand that you're going to spend a lot of time asking the good Lord to do something on the weather side of things, whether it's dry up or rain or whatever it might be. But my entire growing up time in 19, got any Aggies in the crowd? We got to have some Aggies in the crowd. That may not be an Aggie over there. He may not be an Aggie. And I know that they deliver a lot of folks like myself and science degree.
Jesus would bomb terrorists.
But I also grew up in that area. I know what this country needs. And we need to get Americans back working. I know how to create jobs. You let the private sector free them up from over-taxation, free them up from over-regulation, free them up from over-litigation. Then government, get out of the way. Let the private sector do what the private sector knows how to do.
It's so nice to meet you.
Thanks for
Put
being
the horn.
Yeah, no, all right. It's good. Back's going to have him back.
Yeah, I bet you. I don't know what happened to your mom.
I think he's wonderful.
48 in the nation in education.
He's just a family man. The most important thing is that he defends traditional marriage and that he is a man of faith. You know, that is just so important to me.
Wow. I have to say, he's pretty impressive. I do love my Michelle, but he's going to give her a little bit of a run for her money, I think. I think he's cute. I mean, he's very handsome now, too.
Oh, hey!
Hey!
It's so good to see you.
Been a long time. Yeah, weird thing. We saw Fred last night.
We saw at Star Bar.
Night at Star Bar.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Because he's out of town, you guys.
Oh.
You must be mistaken.
Oh, no,
Well.
Really? I thought
No, he's out of town.
We didn't talk to him or anything. We just
Yeah, maybe it
kinda,
was.
you know,
He's lost weight and he's changed his hair, so maybe you're
Oh,
mistaken.
that's probably
That must be it.
That's great.
Cute earrings.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I got him at Pride.
Pride.
The gay Pride thing.
You know, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't understand when it came to be that gay people owned all the rainbows.
Well, they
I don't
don't.
think they're saying they own the rainbows.
Yeah, they don't own them. They're using them.
But you can remember back, there used to be a time when everybody could do rainbows, and now it's just, if you have a rainbow, it means you're gay.
There used to be a time when gay people could get arrested too, just for being with the people they love.
So we got to get out of that lot.
Yeah,
that's in the parking lot, so.
we're over there, but really
Good
nice to see you.
Enjoy your books.
In 2010, when I was deployed to Iraq, I had to lie about who I was because I'm a gay soldier. Do you intend to circumvent the progress that's been made for gay and lesbian soldiers in the military?
Yeah, I would say any type of sexual activity has absolutely no place in the military. The fact that they're making...
This is kind of hard to admit, but for the first time in 15 years, we weren't able to make our mortgage. Fred lost his job. But we're going to find the solution. We're not just going to sit around and complain about it.
If you can find someone to rent that room for $1,200 a month, great. But that's not going to happen.
Well, I don't regret for 1 second taking out a second on this house. I don't.
We had to pay for her college.
I know.
Maybe you could do something else. Maybe you could do sales.
Sales? I've never done sales in my entire life. I know how to do one thing: drive a truck. No one's going to hire me at my age and train me to do sales when they can hire some kid.
Well, all I know is I would like to see you combing through the help wanted ads
Janine,
every once in a while.
I look at the want ads every day, okay? Don't tell me I don't. There's nothing in there for me, okay?
Where are you going? Where do you think you're going?
Yeah, all right, I'm going nowhere.
Because I was thinking if you're going to go out, maybe put on a different shirt and run a comb through your hair.
What?
Yeah, because Darla ran into you at Menards last week and she said you look like a homeless person.
Well, that's very Christian of Darla.
What if you ran into somebody that might want to hire you? Don't you at least want to look
Are
presentable?
you kidding me? You're talking to me about looking presentable? Have you seen yourself in a mirror lately, Janine? You're falling apart, all right? Don't talk to me about this crap.
Would you please wait? Are you just going to keep talking?
Yes,
Let me
sir.
finish with what I have to say.
And every day with you, Lord, is sweeter than the day.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come over here a second. I need to talk to you. Hey, how's it going? Listen, I've been needing to talk to you. I need to let you in on a little secret.
You cannot serve both God and money. Does it say you can't have money? Does it say you can't have a bunch of it? Nope, doesn't say anything about it. It says you cannot do what? You can't serve both God and money. You can have both.
Hey folks, I'm Dave Ramsey, and I wanted to make sure you know that regardless of what's going on in your personal finances or in the economy, you can find hope by learning God's ways of handling money. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you to do in Financial Peace University. Starting very soon, this church is offering Financial Peace University classes. During the 13-week class, you'll learn what it looks like to handle your money in a way that honors Christ.
How much are those the membership kits?
The kit is $100. It's a one-time.
You know, I just wanted some time to reflect today on our situation at home.
Can't even pay $100 for this class.
And I get here and it's like they're trying to sell me something. But I don't need a class. I need help.
I will call you back by the end of the day. Janine, I need to talk to you.
Oh, okay.
Did you have any problems with Mrs. Bartlett's house this week? No. Because her son wants to replace you. What? Yeah. Apparently he saw you on the sink, splashing your face with water, and then you sank down to the floor.
No, I know. He should have said something to me because I was just overheated and I hadn't drunk enough water that day. So,
listen.
Do you want me to stop by their house and
If
just...
this job is too much for you, then just tell me.
No, it's not too much for me. Actually, I actually need more hours. I need to work
Consider
more.
this a warning.
I'm sure you've noticed that Fred and I have been fighting a lot lately. Not fighting, but bickering. All couples go through this. It's perfectly normal.
Whoa, Janine, what are you doing? Don't put on there. What are you doing?
It's a good sticker. I just got it at my meeting.
It's really tough.
What if I don't want that on my car?
Well, it's my car.
Well, it's our car, okay?
It's my car.
Since he got laid off, Fred's around the house all the time, and we're not used to being around each other.
You're doing it wrong, honey.
How?
Oh, it needs to be draped. It needs to
They're
be
fine.
so much
Don't touch
more
them.
loose.
Just leave them be.
No, but
they're fine the way they are.
It needs to be looser, honey.
No.
Look, if you come back over here and we just start over again, you've only been doing this for about 10 minutes.
We don't need to decorate a house we're going to lose anyway. What?
Why, don't say that out loud.
Oh, gosh.
Jeez, we're not going to lose the house.
Just, would you leave them?
No, coming back over here and help
If
me.
you want them done differently, how about you just do it by yourself, okay? There's the box. Go to it. Have a great time, all right? I'm done. I didn't want to set them up anyway.
Been trying to get Fred to go to counseling with our pastor, but he just refuses every time. But we do try and carve out some quality time with each other, which hasn't been happening much since he's been looking for work. You know, we have this covenant marriage, which means that we've pledged to be husband and wife for all of eternity. I really believe in that. A promise is a promise, and you don't go back on a promise you made to God.
Come on, you know how much politics and religion gets everybody agitated. Do you have to? Yeah, I mean, I had this Elmo Scrubs top that I loved because it was cute, and a doctor I work for said that I can't wear it because he hates Elmo. Hates.
That beats all. That beats all. Hey, Ames.
Hi, Ames. Hey. Hey. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry. I got a motor. I think I filled that out. Have a great turkey day. Thanks. Yeah. We'll see ya. Okay, bye. And hang in there, Janine.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hang in there, Janine.
Thank you.
So you traveling, or are you staying here?
Oh, we're staying here. Fred should be home any second now. But Lissy's not coming home. She's staying in Minneapolis. She got a cater gig at a cater hall.
Oh, that's very industrious of her.
Hey, you know what? I have an idea. Why don't you guys come over for Thanksgiving at our house? You know how much I love to cook that meal? I have nobody to cook it for.
Oh, no, I mean, thanks and everything. We can't, though. We got a big crowd coming. Thanks, though. Janine?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No.
What's wrong?
No.
What's wrong?
I know there must be a reason why you're not inviting me and Fred over for Thanksgiving dinner.
There is
it's
a
so
reason.
funny because I see all these peace and love bumper stickers on your car, but for some reason you can't. You find out that me and Fred have no place to go for Thanksgiving dinner.
I mean, the reason we're not
inviting.
inviting you over for Thanksgiving dinner is because you've gotten so conservative that we don't want to make you uncomfortable.
You know something?
Okay, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings and I didn't mean to.
I would be uncomfortable, and so would Fred, because we are conservative. But you know what we would do? We would be polite and we would make conversation and we would try and fit in, even though you and all of your friends support a president who's trying to destroy this country.
Oh, come on, Janine. Turn off Fox News for 2 seconds and face reality.
Nobody has worked harder than my family has worked for this country. My husband served. He served this country.
Your husband served during peacetime, okay? Jace is still over there. He's done 4 tours. 3 of them in Iraq where we shouldn't have even been in the first place. It's bullshit. Freedom isn't free. It makes me want to puke.
Say, I'm on the phone. Let's watch the language, ladies.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I can't take any more of this teabagger bullshit.
Is EPA the one you were talking about? Or?
No, sir. No, sir. We were talking about the agencies of government. EPA needs to be rebuilt.
But
There's no doubt about that.
But you can't name the third one?
The third agency of government,
Yeah.
I would do away with the education, the commerce, and let's see. I can't. The third one, I can't. Sorry. Oops.
Hey, Janine, it's Cindy. Hey, listen, I don't want to alarm you, but didn't you say that Fred was out of town? I saw him at Dolls, and I just have to tell you, he was with someone. It was just strange. I don't want to leave this all in your message. Call me back if you want to talk about it, or I will just see you at church on Sunday, okay?
Don't you dare go in there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Just trying to find something hopeful in here. Just looking at my, we had, as corny as everybody thinks it is, we had Corinthians read at our wedding. And I do like to go back and reread it because,
Love does abide in all things, endure all things, believe all things. It never dies. A couple of months ago, I found a lump in my breast. And I thought it was going to go away, and it didn't go away. And we don't have health care right now. I didn't realize that we were going to lose our health care. And so I called our doctor, the same doctor that we've been going to for, I think I've been seeing this doctor for 18 years, and he told me he couldn't see me or check out the lump. It was going to cost thousands of dollars. We don't have that right now. So
what are you going to do?
I'm going to pray on it, you know? I just feel like God would not punish me by having something wrong happen to me, not at this point in my life when so many important things are happening and I'm so young. I want to tell Fred, but things are just so tense.
Hey, honey. Hey.
I just got an email from Pastor Rick, and he says that he could see us for counseling this week.
No.
He said that he would move some stuff around for us. Honey, I'm just gonna tell him yes.
My parents got a divorce, and we'd never had an experience with that. When that happened, we lost virtually everything overnight. We lost our home. But it is amazing to me how God uses those challenges to really shape your life.
Dinner was ready 3 hours ago. Turkey and everything are still in the oven. You couldn't call me?
I didn't know what to say.
Where have you been the last 3 days? Where have you been?
This isn't gonna work, Janine.
Stop it!
Janine, Jesus, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? You don't belong here.
Janine,
You don't belong here.
Janine, come on, you're making a fool of yourself. Janine, come here.
I don't know who I am.
Janine, look
What?
at me.
Just come home.
I'm
Just
not
come
gonna come
home.
home. I'm not gonna come home, Janine. We can pray on it all you want to. It's not gonna change anything. I'm in love with somebody else.
Fred, is everything okay?
It's fine.
Yeah?
Who are you?
Could you just give us a minute?
I'm Sam. Nice to meet you.
Do you know who I am?
I have a pretty good idea.
He knows.
Does he know that I'm your wife?
Yeah.
That I'm your wife that you married?
He knows everything about
Married
it.
to for over
Let's
2
talk
decades?
about this someplace else,
Do you
okay?
know?
Come on, let's
Why
just...
is that?
Sam, come on. Let's just go,
Why are
Janine.
you
Nobody
here?
wants to
No,
wants to
I
hear
don't
about
wanna
this
go.
stuff.
I don't want to go.
Let's just go. You're making a fool of
destroy my family
yourself.
too.
Janine, you just need to leave, all right? You need to go.
Oh, dear God. Please help us. Oh, please don't let us lose our house, please. Please let Fred get a job. Please make Fred go back into counseling with me.
Let me leave you with this. And I believe these words came from the Pokemon movie. Life can be a challenge. Life can seem impossible. It's never easy when there's so much on the line.
Looking at Advent, isn't it? Yeah, you know, it's just so so easy to get caught up in the season, you know, with the, oh my gosh, the Christmas tree, getting that up on time, the presents, the shopping, the parties. It's just a little bit too much sometimes. But what are we truly called to during this time of year?
Devotion?
No.
Quite. Redemption.
Yeah. Anybody else? No. Janine? What do you think that we are called to as Christians during Advent?
I don't know.
Did you have a chance to read the material or did you hear the sermon last Sunday?
Oh, I'm sorry. My family is going through, we're having holiday issues, I guess.
There's no room at the inn, is there? And in the world we live in now, there's no room in our hearts for Jesus. We have to fundamentally transform who we are and what we believe in and what we stand for. It's not enough to just talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk, right?
Right.
Yes. Janine?
Yeah.
How have you felt transformation in your life?
In every way possible. My life is transforming. My faith is being tested right now. I'm sorry.
I can so relate to that, Janine. I really can. I felt the same exact way the whole week. We're going to Maui for holiday break, right? Lexi and Brandon are in this place where they would rather go skiing with their friends in Breckenridge. So Kurt and I are just gonna have to go to Hawaii alone. I know, my babies, but I guess they're transforming into adults.
Yeah, they're growing up.
That's not what that means. It's not what that means.
Excuse me?
It means we have to transform our lives so we're worthy of him when he returns, right?
Turning programs back to states, and finally making government itself more efficient. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare.
It is a moral imperative for America to stop spending more money than we take in. I'm Mitt Romney, and I approve this message.
Well, Christmas was really hard. Yeah, I was alone for most of it. I mean, Lizzie came down for a couple of days because she was worried about me. Fred is he's not around. Anyway, it's about to get really busy with the caucuses. All the candidates are in Iowa now, and I've got some real questions for them this time. Mitt Romney has barely even spent any time in Iowa, which does not speak well of him. But you know, it is my duty to hear what he has to say.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Good to be here.
Governor, hi, how are you?
Governor, right here. Good to see you. Thank you.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, I'm
Go, I get a hug here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I want a hug too.
Oh, look at all eyes here. How are you?
We need jobs. We need jobs back here in Iowa. That's what we need.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
I just wanted to see her and ask her some questions because I haven't made up my mind.
We are very happy to be here and early. We actually were early and early. We had to pull over for 15 minutes, and I am delighted also to be here in Congressman King's district. I have the highest score of any of the candidates on my commitment to make English the official language of the federal government, and I'm going farther than any other candidate. I'm also calling for legislation to end the practice of giving automatic American citizenship to babies that are born in this country illegally. And I don't know if you want to say something about immigration.
I just happen to be the author of that bill. So I'd say that, and
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Janine.
Hi, Janine.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Well,
Nice to see you. Are you
it's
from
nice-
Early?
I'm actually closer to Des Moines, but
Are
I came
you?
up here because, yes.
Did
and
you
nice
really?
To meet you.
Well,
Yes.
sit down. We'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Oh, okay. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
You actually get your own private presidential candidate and member of Congress. So sit down and we'll have a conversation. Steve, want to sit there? Hi, thank you. Tell me your name.
My name is Janine Wilson.
You're Janine Wilson,
Yes.
and you're from where?
I grew up in Ames, but I live in Des Moines now, and I just have a lot of. I guess I'm still on the fence. I am one of those people that's still on the fence, and this has just been one of the hardest years of our lives. Me and my husband, we're going through a very hard time.
Yeah.
And
Tell me about it.
I guess I just don't know where jobs are going to come from because my husband got laid off, and I barely work.
Yeah.
And we have no health care.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. It's just been a very, very hard time on us, and I don't know what is going to happen.
I'm a tax lawyer. What I want to do is lower that burden on job creators so that this is a more attractive place to do business. And then I want to repeal Obamacare because President Obama told us it was going to save us money. And that's what I want, is a health care system that does save money, because Obamacare isn't.
But we had real good health care, and then my husband.
What was his job?
He was a trucker. He worked for a trucker, but he's been laid off, and we had health care through the company that hired him, and now we have no health care.
Yeah.
And we have maybe some health concerns right now in our family.
Sure.
And I called the doctor that our primary care, and he will not see us without the insurance.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't know where we're supposed to go. People who don't have any health care insurance, what are we supposed to do?
It goes back to the fact that we've got to have a pro-growth economy. We have to.
But
because when to have health care, you have to have a job. You have to have a job to be able to pay for it. And your husband with trucking, it's very difficult now for truckers to even make a go of it.
There's no goods to transport around, so, you know.
Well, and the other thing is just the transportation costs. I mean, the day that President Obama came into office, gasoline was $1.79 a gallon. You know, and now look at the price.
He made that go up?
Yeah, yeah.
We're barely hanging on. I'm
Right.
sorry, we're barely, you know, it's just very hard because we're barely hanging on to our house right now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sick, you know.
It's extremely stressful. But what we've got to do is make sure that we have a place where new jobs can be formed.
Yes.
And that's just not happening
It's
now.
not. Yeah, and it's
No, I don't want you to be embarrassed. I'm really pleased. What this shows is that you care so much about your country and about your family.
I do.
You care about your family. Good to meet you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
And this is the most a candidate has spoken to me about the jobs and the economy and stuff, because I don't know what our family is going to do, you know.
I think she gave you a solution with respect to your health care problem?
That's the one I'm a little confused about. I just don't know. I don't know.
And my whole emphasis on brain science comes in directly from dealing, see how you have emotional, from dealing with, you know, the real problems of real people in my family. And so it's not a theory. It's, in fact, you know, my mother. I always want to serve the people. And this gives me a chance at least to serve the younger people with a trainer here. So we'll see how big a mess I make of this, but I'm game to try. It's a lot of fun. As somebody who loves ice cream more than I should. I would ask the Congress to stay in session on January 3rd when they come back. I would ask them before the presidential inaugural to repeal Obamacare. I would replace the Environmental Protection Agency. I believe the current EPA is a job-killing instrument that makes no sense in the modern world and that imposes a radical agenda on the country.
Last question here, sir.
I saw you on the news speaking about your mother, and I was very moved by that. And I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for sharing such a personal story. And our family is in a healthcare crisis. We have no healthcare. We lost it 2 months ago. And I just feel like I haven't heard a lot of specifics from a lot of the other candidates about healthcare and what
your ideas are, so I'd appreciate if you would share those.
Well, thank you. And healthcare is a huge, huge problem, and I helped found the Center for Health Transformation for that reason. And I believe we have to go to a totally new model. You should be able to buy into a group insurance plan with other people in your community and in your neighborhood to bring down the cost. We need litigation reform because we did a study at the center with Gallup and Jackson Health.
But it's too expensive.
And Gallup concluded that the amount of defensive medicine practiced in the United States where doctors do things they don't need to do just to have the paper record in case there's a lawsuit is $800 billion a year.
Yeah, but it's
I think what Clifton and I'd like to do is meet you individually and get pictures and chat with you. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you. Thank you.
Is it possible to ask him? Is it possible?
It's ironic you'd ask a question about that. That's exactly what I was going to ask about. Because
But we can't, because I don't understand. I still don't understand how you're supposed to buy into a plan if you have, like...
That's part of the new health care bill, though.
Really?
Yes. He didn't say that.
I'm sorry, I'm a little hot. I think I'm going to get some hot air. But up until 2 months ago, we had excellent health care, and I swear, I called my doctor because I need to have a mammogram.
Yes. Your insurance could pay. My mammograms weren't paid for. My yearly exams were not paid for, and now they are.
But you know what they told me?
It's a mandate.
You know what they told me to go, where to go to get a free mammogram? They told me to go to Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. Yeah. my son's a type 1 diabetic. He's got a pre-existing condition. He's a senior in high school. He wouldn't have been covered, you know. But now he'll be able to have coverage. Okay. Because
because of Obamacare?
Yes. Yes. The new health care, because they can't exclude you because of pre-existing conditions now. They have to, insurance companies can't kick my son out when he turns 18. Okay. When he turns 18. He's got type 1 diabetes.
Okay. Wow.
He will be covered. You know what a load that off of my mind.
So you're backing Gingrich, but you like Obama?
No, I come to hear all the candidates.
Oh, I see. I'm so confused by everything.
I know. It's
I'm
hard.
having a really hard time. I'm very conservative, but I have to tell you, this happened 2 months ago to our family. We're going to lose our house over this.
Yes.
So it's almost the new year. Well, I realize this lump isn't going away. I thought at least the county hospital would take me in, but even though we're desperate, we're not considered low income enough. It's not fair.
I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate everything that you've been doing, your surge and everything that's been happening lately.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I did want to ask you, though, I'm asking a lot of the candidates about health care. What are your ideas for health care? Because I haven't gotten...
I'm a big private sector healthcare guy. I was one of the authors of health savings accounts. I believe that's really the way we have to get consumers back involved in healthcare.
How do you get, if you have no health care at all, though, how do you get a health
That's an access issue. What the big problem is right now is not really access. The problem is cost. Cost is causing the access problem, not the other way around. So you've got to get consumers involved. I've always been in favor of tax credits for folks who do not have employer-provided insurance to help in access. But you've got to do something on the cost side. And what Obamacare does is really just fix access and does nothing about cost unless you consider ration of care doing something good about cost. Okay? I've got to go and see other folks. Thank you so much.
One question. What's wrong with gay marriage?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yes.
I don't even know how I'd get a health savings account. I don't know how I would get one.
The Bible says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." And I'm not asking for a handout, I'm just asking God, please, what is your plan for me? What is your plan for me? Because I'm frightened.
Okay, you can go ahead and sit up, Miss Wilson.
Is there any chance that the lump is a cyst?
Possibly. There's a real thickening of the tissue in both breasts. I'm ordering a mammogram with an ultrasound, and I want to make sure that they biopsy that lump.
But you don't think it's a tumor, right?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. When did you first discover the lump?
August.
Why did you wait 4 months to come and see us?
Because I thought it would go away. And then my husband lost his job. So we lost our health care. I'm gonna die, aren't I?
Miss Wilson, please. We don't turn anybody away due to lack of funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can go ahead and get dressed. I'll have your referrals ready for you at the front desk. Is there somebody here to take you home?
No.
I never thought I needed help before. I thought that I could do things all by myself. But now I know I just can't take it anymore. With a humble heart, on bended knees, I'm begging you please for help. And let me see, Lord, let me see just where I fit into your master plan. Teacher in the bones.
Asked this before, but there weren't as many people in the room. Is it a good night to be in Perry, Iowa for Rick Perry or what?
Why would you settle? Why would you settle for anything but an authentic conservative that shares your views and values and will go to Washington, D.C. and not apologize one moment for them? It's a bureaucrat at the Department of Education that's deciding and telling you how to educate your children. It's time to do away with the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. Stand up and take out your pen and sign an executive order on the first day you're in the Oval Office and wipe out as much of Obamacare as you can with an executive order. And I will make you this one pact. You have my back tomorrow at the caucuses, and I'll have your back for the next 4 years in Washington, D.C. God bless you, and God bless this great country of America.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, somebody's pushing me. I couldn't find it. Put him back behind a curtain. Okay, guys. Are we going to be permitted to ask the governor any questions?
No, ma'am, it's already.
Pardon me?
He's already left.
He's already left? He's already left. He's already on the bus.
Thank you for being here.
I'm a home health aide.
Thanks for being here.
Hey. Hi, and I just really
night.
admire your husband very much, but I wanted to ask him a question about health care, if I could.
He's gone the other way to get on Greta tonight.
Because our family is suffering, you know? We don't have health care right now, and I feel like no other candidates are giving me good answers. Do you know what his plan is?
What specifically are you asking
We
about?
don't have any health care right now. My husband lost his job.
You don't have any health insurance?
No, we don't.
Well, that's... I'm a nurse. My
Yeah.
father's a physician,
Yeah.
and that is something that's not right. We ought to make health care affordable for everybody.
What is somebody supposed to do if they have absolutely no health care?
Well, we can't, you know, till we get there, we can't solve the problem. But I know that you deserve health care, and I know that he would try to do that.
Do you know if Governor Perry left?
Yeah, he had to get to. Yeah, I did. Yeah, he's gone. I'm sorry.
Do you work with the Perry campaign?
I do.
I just wanted to talk to him.
I'm sorry.
Our lives are falling apart. I just don't know who to vote for, and I wanted to talk to him about health care. I just feel like I can't get a straight answer out of any of these candidates. And then I had a woman outside of one of the things telling me Obamacare works, you know, and now I'm all confused. I just feel like I keep talking to all these candidates and they keep telling us a health savings account. I don't even know what that means, you know?
Right.
What are you supposed to do if you have no health care? We're just in a crisis right now. I'm sorry.
IDC?
Yes, invasive ductal carcinoma. Not only did the lump in your left breast come back as malignant, but I see cancerous cells in both breasts. That's the thickening that we were talking about. You need treatment immediately. My recommendation is surgery to remove the tumor, then radiation and chemotherapy. We're going to set you up with an oncologist as soon as possible.
But I have to work this week. And I have the caucuses coming up. And I don't have any money to pay for any of this.
I know, we'll help you figure it out.
Okay, as long as it's not Obamacare.
He went on the Today Show shortly after being inaugurated and said that if he's not able to turn around the economy in 3 years, he'd be looking at a one-term proposition. I'm here to collect. He's out. You've got to work for a long time. It's more than just having the inconvenience of having to get help from the unemployment fund and for family and friends. And this is also psychologically challenging. It's depressing for people. It causes depression. It causes marriages to get in trouble. It causes loss of faith in some cases. And so I'm very concerned about jobs. The president said he wants to fundamentally transform America. I don't want to transform America. I want to restore the principles that made America. This is the America we love. I'm going to make sure we take those principles to the White House and get America working again. Thanks, you guys. Great to be with you.
Governor Romney, can I just shake his hand? Can I get through? Is there any way I can get through? I wanted to ask him a question about jobs. Can I get around this way and ask him a question?
I don't think he's taking questions, but it might just be from reporters.
Excuse me. Can I get through? Can I get through, please? Can I please get through?
At this stage, I think I'm going to be among one of the three, and everybody would like to be at the top of the three, but being one of the three would be great.
Governor Romney?
Stop pushing. I got a long way to go. Thanks.
Governor Romney?
Thank you. Who's that? Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. Hi there.
Everything you talked about is what is happening in my life right now. When you talked about families falling apart, we have no jobs, and we have no health care. My husband and I are probably going to get divorced because of this. Everything is falling apart in our lives.
I really want to help.
I do believe in you, but we need answers. We need jobs, and we need health care. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope.
I understand. I surely hope and pray for you. My goodness, that's why I'm running. I want to help people like yourself. I really want to get good jobs coming back. God be with you.
It just feels like our whole family is falling apart. Please, if you win, if you go on to Washington, D.C., just save the small families in America. We're just falling apart here.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you win tonight?
What's going on in your life?
We're losing everything. Our house is underwater. We have no health care. And I have cancer.
You were talking with the governor. What were you telling him? What do you think of Romney?
I want to believe in him. He's one of the candidates I like, but we're losing everything. I'm sick and we have no health care right now. And I just keep asking the candidates, what is their plan? I'm sorry, for health care. And they keep telling me a health savings account. But
What is your name, ma'am?
my name's Janine Wilson.
Janine Wilson.
And I
you
live here in Des Moines. Yes.
Janine, why does these rates matter so much to you?
I feel like our entire family's future depends on this race.
Seems like you're desperate for change.
I am. I feel like it's gotten so much worse. I feel like we're at the end of the line.
After praying on it and thinking on it, I decided I would vote for Mitt Romney. And then I woke up this morning and I found out that he won by 8 votes. And I feel like I was one of the votes that just put him over the top. Because I had such a connection with him when I spoke with him yesterday. And look at me, I'm a tiny little pebble in the pond. And all these ripples, and I'm the one of the 8 votes that put him over the top. It just really made me realize how important I am. He's probably going to win the nomination and win being president, and it just makes me feel so hopeful.
My brother's going to take me in, and he has found a clinic up there in Minneapolis that's going to see me and help me as much as they can. First, I have to probably have surgery to remove the tumor that I have, and then they'll look into radiation and chemotherapy, and that's just what I have ahead of me. I just have to think of it as a new beginning for me. It's been a hard year, you know, so I'll just keep my faith in God and in Jesus and know that they have a plan for me. Fred has started a new life. Fred's gay. And I just have to accept that. He's not my husband anymore. So I just have to accept it. And they say love the sinner but hate the sin. I guess that's the way I'm going to have to look at it, you know? Because I do love him still. And I hope he has a nice life. This is just a little way station right now for me to get better. I'm going to own a house again someday. I'm going to work full-time again, and you know, as soon as I get over having a broken heart, I'll fall in love again.
Once our forefathers had God on their side, and we had more than 200 years of patriotic pride. But now there are people in Washington, they want to tear us down. Welfare mamas and healthcare papas gonna burn this country to the ground. Don't take my liberty, my liberty. Keep me free from sea to shining sea. Gonna take this country back for you and me. Don't take my liberty, sweet liberty. From Scottsdale down to Miami. Come on, ring the bell of their guns, this tyranny must fall. With taxes and their crooked laws, they steal our dignity. Time to fight, let's get her done. Rescue liberty. Don't take my liberty, my liberty. Keep me free from sea to shining sea. Gonna take this country back for you and me. Don't take my liberty, sweet liberty. Scottsdale down to Miami. Come on, ring the bell. Come on, ring the bell. Come on, ring the bell of liberty.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's discussion on cinema and the voter, organized jointly by the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy and the U.S. Consulate General in Chennai. We have with us this evening Ms. Ariel Pollock, Acting Consul General Chennai, and her colleagues from the U.S. Consulate, Mr. N. Ravi, Dr. Nirmala Lakshman, Directors of Kasturi and Sons, Professor M.S. Swaminathan, Justice Jagannathan, Mr. Venkatesh Chakravarti, Ms. Deborah Tyagarajan, and many other leaders in public and academic life in Chennai. Thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy and the U.S. Consul General, I extend a hearty welcome to a very distinguished audience this evening. The film, Janine from their Mom, brings out a spectrum of emotions that a voter grapples with as she seeks answers to issues that have a direct bearing on her daily life. India and the US as the world's two largest democracies have in place strong institutions that ensure political stability. Questions, however, continue to arise, not even if quite infrequently, as to how representative a popular government is and what is the expectation of a voter. India and the US also have in common a strong and independent media, and in the context of this evening's deliberations, a vibrant, celebratory, and often questioning cinema. Though the approaches of films with political content may vary between the two countries, what is common is that both have served their respective societies in reflecting popular expectations of voters. To discuss these issues in the specific context of cinema and the voter, we have with us a set of very well-informed panelists, perhaps the best we could have in Madras this evening. I start with the director of the film, the filmmaker Grace Lee. Ms. Grace Lee was born and raised in Columbia, Missouri. Ariel has already introduced her, but I will continue with that. She is a recipient of the Henry Hampton Award for Excellence in Digital Media, a Rockefeller Media Arts Grant, the PPP Poussin Prize, as well as funding from the Ford Foundation. Her documentaries include Best of the Worst, which is permanently features the Currywurst Museum in Berlin, Camp Ariang. She is currently in post-production for the American Revolutionary, The Evolution of the Grace Lee blog, about a 97-year-old Chinese-American philosopher and activist in Detroit. We extend to you, Grace, a hearty welcome, and thank you for being with us this evening. To moderate this evening's discussion, we have with us Mr. Sadanand Menon. Mr. Menon explores the charged space linking politics and culture through his work in media, pedagogy, and the arts. He is an adjunct faculty member at the Asian College of Journalism, Chennai, at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and at Presidency University, Kolkata. He has been an arts editor, columnist, and photographer, a longtime collaborator with the late dancer, writer, choreographer Chandra Lekha. He is also leading stage lights designer. Also a longtime collaborator with the late artist, photographer, designer Dashrath Patel. He created the definitive retrospective exhibition of his work for the NGMA Delhi and Mumbai in 1998-90. Mr. Menon has been on the advisory or executive committees of the National Museum, National Gallery of Modern Art, the Lalit Kala Academy, the National School of Drama, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, the Board for Intangible Cultural Heritage, the Raza Foundation, Delhi, and Dakshin Chitra, Chennai. Along with Romila Tapar and A.G. Dumarani, he has contributed an essay on the book On Nationalism, published by LF in 2016. He is managing trustee of the Arts Foundation Spaces, Chennai. We welcome Mr. Sadanand Menon and thank him for accepting our request to moderate this evening's discussion and share his thoughts. Mr. Menon. We also have with us Dr. Narayan Lakshman, who is Senior Deputy Editor of The Hindu, and for a majority of the Obama administration was the newspaper's US correspondent based in Washington, D.C. In this capacity, between 2010 and 2015, he sent regular dispatches on a wide range of issues, including immigration, the 2012 presidential election, the US economy, and popular culture. Thus, he has witnessed firsthand most, if not all, events that we watched a film a few minutes ago. He holds a PhD degree from the London School of Economics and Political Science and is a research scholar who has explored the politics and policy of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. His doctoral thesis in development studies analyzed the political economy of poverty alleviation policies in Indian states. This subject was also the focus of his book, published in 2011, Patrons of the Poor, published by Oxford University Press. With this background in Indian political economy, we look forward to Dr. Narayan Lakshman's involvement, interventions on Grace Lee's movie with US politics, and his reflections on cross-cutting links between these two vibrant economies. Dr. Narayan Lakshman, we welcome you and thank you for accepting our invitation to participate and share your views on this important but very rarely discussed theme, cinema and the voter. I thank you all for your patience and I now request Mr. Sadanand Menon to take the floor.
Thank you, Sambandhan. Thank you, the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy, for having, and the American Center for having organized this evening. I think it's an important issue. Watching Grace's film this evening was like walking into a time machine almost, because it showed us what was about. Can you handle this mic, please? Echo? Yeah. It showed us what was in store and what really happened. It's almost like a wish fulfillment going on there. The whole connection between the performance of politics, we want to call that, and the agencies that contribute to it in daily life. This includes, of course, newspapers, it includes all forms of media, and cinema. Definitely in the last 70 years we have seen enormous contributions, and before that was probably the radio. Ed Murrow and his role with radio, but cinema has emerged as a very, very important contributor to a certain kind of consciousness making, for advocacy, for lobbying, for propaganda, for myth making on a large scale. And it's not unknown in this part of the world. I think Indian cinema and Tamil cinema in particular is almost at the center of this kind of myth making, and it's not for nothing that in the last 50 years the major chief ministers we have had here have all come from the cine background and so on. But that's a different story. I think we'll stick to what Grace has shown us today and take off on that. But before we start, I think I'd request both Grace and Narayan to bounce off on the film for about 5 or 7 minutes each, and after that we can have a discussion and then probably open it to the floor. We don't have too much time, so we'll have to keep it crisp. But I think Grace would like to also tell you, she wanted to say this before the film started, but maybe you'd like to say about the making of the film and this whole process by which you created the Janine character.
Thank you all for coming, and especially thank you to the Hindu Center and the U.S. Consulate for inviting me to talk about this film that I made 4 years ago, and seems even more relevant today. Just a little bit of background for this project. As in my introduction, I make both fiction and nonfiction films, fiction and documentary. And in this case, I was really interested in the process of combining the two. So if it's not clear, I think most people figured it out. Janine is played by an actress named Jane Edith Wilson, who plays Janine Wilson. And it's a mix of sort of real-time events happening in Iowa plus scripted scenes. The impetus for the film came from both Jane Wilson and I are friends. We're both originally from the American Midwest. Jane is actually from Iowa. She is from Des Moines. She actually has a lot in common kind of biographically with the character, but politically she is not in sync with Janine from Des Moines. And both of us have, around 2010, when the rise of the Tea Party was happening in the US, we were just sort of watching this unfold. We both live in Los Angeles and wondering, how can we insert ourselves or sort of, insert our points of view or explore different points of view in the process. And, as artists, we don't have a lot of money, but we do have our creative skills. I make documentaries. Jane is a comedian and a very good actress who also is her specialty is improvisation. And we decided that we would create a character and go to the Iowa caucuses. Both of us had previous experience at the Iowa caucuses, and as you can see, it's a kind of media circus, and we decided what better place to have some sort of political theater. So, it really just started with the idea of how do we explore, at the time, coming from the Midwest, I grew up with a lot of people like Janine. She's a very familiar character to me. We wanted to explore, instead of kind of making fun of a character or trying to judge her, we wanted to sort of live in her shoes and feel what it's like to be somebody like Janine. And so that's basically where the idea came from. And one thing that was very challenging about the project is it started with one thing I should say, Jane actually came to me at a certain point and said, she actually is a Christian and very a progressive Christian, and she approached me about making a film about the Christian left because everybody talks about the Christian right. But at the time, I was already making a film about a social justice activist, Grace Lee Boggs, and I didn't want to make another film about an activist. But I suggested to her this idea, and then we sort of we sort of went with the idea, and this is what we came up with. So, thank you.
Thank you. Narayan?
Thank you. And firstly, congrats, Grace, on a really rich and textured film, which I can definitely vouch from my own sort of first-hand experience there. Captured a lot of the the sentiment, the analysis, just the absolute level, intensity of the emotion that was behind that election. And like you rightly said, I think things started heating up around 2010. A big trigger for the whole Tea Party movement, which gained enormous strength throughout the campaign, was the Obamacare, what came to be called as Obamacare, but is called the Affordable Care Act. And that also, however, seeing that as a sort of a trend within that campaign, it is also sort of in sync with a deeper strand of political thought, political philosophy in America, which has to do with individual liberty. And I think that theme comes across quite often in your film as well. And really, all the time that I spent there, this question kept coming up in different shapes and forms, whether you're talking about Obamacare or whether you're talking about terrorism, the big questions that America grapples with, surveillance. It's all about individual liberty. And of course, when you're looking at conservative America, the focus quite naturally shifts to, not letting the government encroach upon individual liberty, and that again is a big part of I think what was going on here. So that was one observation I had. The second is, and I think Sadanand alluded to this, is also the role of the media itself. Whether you're looking at media as traditional mainstream media or whether you're looking at cinema and film. And, you're seeing you're seeing that take on an entirely different meaning in the current situation, in the current scenario in the US under President Donald Trump, where the media, with all its bells and whistles, has sort of crashed against a certain a force a structure that it does not seem to be able to deal with in its usual way. And this has really thrown up some very interesting dynamics, and I think we're going to see lots of changes happening there because, firstly, the very election itself on November 8th last year, the media got it spectacularly wrong, as we all know. But there was a reason for that, and there was a man behind that, the president, and the way he reached out to the electorate, whether via social media or through other means. And so this is something, I mean, again, I just want to say that it was a very relevant theme to have here, to look at the way Jeanine sort of had to insert herself into the media, or sort of negotiate the media in order to get to the candidates and then talk about the issues. And actually, to me, the most fascinating moment in your film came when, at the climax, where she encounters Governor Romney, and while she's always kind of like elbowing the media in the ribs, trying to get in, the moment she has that dramatic exchange with him, the entire media turns towards her. And then they immediately start asking her questions about who is she and what are her issues and so on. And that sort of speaks to in a sense, maybe it's the competitive environment, but it speaks to the way that the media is driven by these moments of drama, driven by sound bites, driven by so many things, which ultimately played a role in the emergence of someone like, perhaps in the emergence of someone like President Donald Trump, who was actually able to take advantage of it. And according to many analysts, the way that the media kept giving him a lot of, free airtime basically throughout the campaign contributed enormously to his success, despite a lot of that airtime being about him bashing the media. So there's a very interesting dynamic that has been playing out, and it continues to play out, in my view, under the new administration. So that was the other big sort of theme that I wanted to talk about. And finally, just talking about the new administration, it was an interesting question to me to look at what were the expectations of people such as Jeanine in terms of, the values that they held dear, traditional conservative values. So, for example, women's reproductive rights, how are LGBT community members treated? Are those things, now that we've seen the win of a Republican candidate, has that shifted in a way? Was it never so stereotypically defined as we know it? Because in a way, Donald Trump sort of represents not the traditional value set. He represents some part of it and has already enacted some parts of it in his policy, but he also represents certain other values and different styles of operating. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So there are many conservative Americas as well, and we're sort of seeing a manifestation of that. And finally, just in terms of the filmmaking aspect, moving on from the big questions, I wanted to ask, so this is a documentary, but it also takes a sort of a bit of a tongue-in-cheek view. In a sense, it takes a more sort of satirical view, absolutely. And so how, I mean, this is just a question I wanted to pose to you, which is how did you find the right balance between injecting that level of drama and sort of telling the story of Jeanine, as opposed to genuinely exploring policy questions? Because in a way, the whole premise is that Jeanine, as a middle America white conservative woman, wanted to find the answers to these very difficult problems in her life, and to do so, she had to actually ask about specifics, and she talks about that herself. She keeps saying, "I want specifics," but for example, when she confronts Romney, it is the drama of that moment comes across to me much more, rather than her saying, for example, if she had tried to corner him into a specific policy-based answer. So how do you find that balance between drama and policy?
Well, I think that...
To add one thing to what Narayan said, and it's kind of linked to the problems that is posed, which is this emergence of a fairly clear existence of a conflict about the idea of democracy itself. Even though we say America and India, we include into it being the greatest democracies, largest democracies, etc., there is a conflict on the issue of democracy where someone like Perry can stand up on the podium and say, the day I get there, I'll strike down education, I'll strike down healthcare. Now, obviously, you can't do it like that because there is a Senate, and you have to go via the Senate. As Trump is finding now, it's not all that easy to strike down things. The ordinance route is not the easiest route possible in a democracy. But in the heat of the electoral momentum, it seems to be there's a machismo about saying that I, as an individual in the presidential form, I can do it, which I think militates against the very core of democratic practice. So your film has sort of hinted at that. I'd like you to elaborate that.
There's so much in this. To answer your question about the policy versus the emotion and the drama, I think plenty of people can talk about the policy. You can see journalists or pundits talk about that as well. But we really wanted to get at the heart of Jeanine, and there's so many contradictory aspects of her character. And for me, as a viewer or as somebody who wants to connect with another human being, it was about getting to the emotional truth of Jeanine at that moment. And it's a very confusing time for her. And, for us as the filmmakers, we're trying to explore this very contradictory personality. How could you, if you have no money and no health care, why wouldn't you want Obamacare or, Affordable Care Act? And, Jeanine is forced to confront, the deep contradictions. She hates Planned Parenthood, yet Planned Parenthood is the only place where she can go to get a free mammogram. We wanted to, at the time, I remember coming up with the idea, and I thought, well, I am a documentary filmmaker. Why don't I just find a Tea Party person and follow this person? But we wanted to make this film in time before the 2012 election. It was actually made very quickly on a shoestring budget, over several months, but, filming piecemeal when we could. And we finished it in, I think, July, and then released it at the Toronto Film Festival in September. And then we had this swing state tour, which we played, in mostly red states, to generate dialogue with people like Jeanine or people in these communities. And then it came out the election happened in November, Obama won, and then everybody forgot about this film. Except now it probably will have a resurgence. So, for us, it was really about engaging with audiences and posing the question, who is Jeanine from Des Moines? Why are we talking about Jeanine rather than the candidates? All of the media is just so razor focused on these people who, basically say the same thing or don't really have, that the media is covering ad nauseum, but we wanted to put ourselves in the shoes of the voter.
But I think also, and this is true now with 24/7 television cameras following candidates in every part of the globe, the emergence of, or the consolidation of this idea of double speak that you talk about glibly about revolution and about change and about the, but behind that seems to be a entire machinery that prevents that change from happening, or prevents that so-called revolution from happening. I remember reading a very interesting book way back in the 1960s. It's called The Making of the Selling of the President, 1968. It's a book on the Nixon election, and written by a New York Times journalist who infiltrated into the propaganda machinery that had been created to, raise the campaign for Nixon. And Joe McGinnis is his name. And Joe McGinnis disguised himself as an advertising executive and joined this team, which comprised, at the time he joined, of 203 of the topmost ad executives and copywriters and myth makers of America, led by a very charismatic personality, appropriately called Frank Shakespeare. And in the very first meeting, and this is a verbatim report that Joe McGinnis writes in the book, in the very first meeting, Frank Shakespeare addresses this crowd in this particular manner, if I remember correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, without any greetings and good evening and good morning and nothing, ladies and gentlemen, you all know that Nixon's face looks like a pig's ass in the moonlight. But our job here is to sell him over the next 1.5 years as the most handsome, the most acceptable, the most intelligent man on the planet, the finest father, the greatest husband, the most religious, and so on and so forth. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to the job. 1.5 years later, Nixon wins. Now, there's a cynical tone in this, meaning there is an element of manufacturing consent that happens through the media in general, mass media in particular, because mass media offers that possibility, and cinema being a very much, a machine or an instrument that facilitates that. So as a filmmaker, when you work on an issue like that, I mean, there's something called political cinema, which is one kind of area. But there's another thing called cinema that enables the creation of politics or the manipulation of a voter's mind. So when you pick up the camera and you want to address an issue like this, how do you differentiate between the two? What would you like the medium to do? Because the medium has this danger that you may set out to make a film that is challenging the Republican ideal, but it has a danger of probably even seducing some people to go that way because it looks very attractive.
Yeah, it's a big question. I think to your point also about these extreme media, like it's a media circus going to the Iowa caucuses. It's one of the reasons we were able to film there because nobody questioned our camera. I think for us, for me in particular, it's really about raising questions and not having, I think there are some people, more politically minded people who were upset that Jeanine didn't come around, and like embrace Obama. I'm like, that's never going to happen. It's not true to her character. I think, I really wanted to just be open and create something that would start a conversation. It was really our goal was not to throw Jeanine under the bus. Jeanine is somebody that I actually care about. I mean, she's somebody, she's a very likable character, I think. I think she's sympathetic in her kind of hapless sort of way, but somebody that I know this person. And, if this was my way of speaking to the Janines that I know, then this is a way to open up a conversation.
Yeah. So I guess in that vein, what I would ask you is, to me, while she's definitely very likable, what this film is kind of following her and following her story, what the film is saying in a way is that she's unable to come up with answers through the Republican platform and by trying to engage with the candidate. So in that way, would you call it any sort of, not an indictment, but a challenge to the very basis of it? And as a sort of follow on to that, again, because I'm in the media, so I'm kind of biased towards asking this, but I'm very interested to know about where the current scenario puts, how the answer changes in the current scenario. Because again, President Trump, to me, is extremely savvy in exactly this thing of manufactured consent, or, handling the media in a way that is very subtle. It goes beyond anything you saw in this film even. I just wanted to share one piece of sort of an anecdote on this, which is that there was a news sort of investigation that happened recently in the German media about this company called Cambridge Analytica, which is based in the UK, which initially Ted Cruz, one of the primary contenders earlier on, used, and then subsequently they're believed to have been hired by President Trump, although there's no definitive evidence of that. This is a company that uses Facebook and other social media personality quizzes to assess the respondents' characters and classifies them according to psychometric testing into certain personality types, and therefore also is able to map what kind of responses they will have when presented with certain kinds of advertising or marketing stimuli. And they were so successful at this that, according to that investigation in the German media, they succeeded in mapping out the psychometric profile of almost every American voter. So even before they approached the home of a certain person to canvass or campaign for votes, they knew not just who they were and how they had voted in the past, but they knew how they would respond to certain stimuli. And further, they would test that model by providing those stimuli, and if there were any differences, or even if it was what was expected, they would feed that back into an enormous algorithm, which would continue to refine itself. And so apparently this enormous machinery of psychometric testing was used. So, that was just the anecdote, but my question to you is, in the face of such a powerful analytics, how has the ground shifted from the kind of Republican Party engagement you saw then to what we can expect now, or what we see now?
Well, looking back at 2012, it seems really like a kindler, gentler time. And looking at 2016, while we see the seeds of 2016 in this film in 2012, 2016 has thrown everything out the window. I am not even sure how to function in this world. I think a lot of how I understand media works. Back then, it was very clear to me, we were not the media. We were doing something else. Most of the media, we would come to an event, and all of the media, they were there to get their moment with the candidate, their soundbite, and pack up and leave. And our cameras were always in the opposite direction. It was very striking, because I felt like, is anyone noticing that we're just putting a camera on this very plain-looking middle-aged woman? But to your point, I'm not really sure how to deal with it, actually. It's something that I'm thinking about a lot. I've actually thought about, where is Janine now in 2016? I actually attended the Republican National Convention doing something else for World Channel, kind of doing some social media coverage, and it's just a different world. I'm not quite sure how to think about it. It requires some reflection.
Yeah, in the age of post-truth and post-fact,
yes.
The media becomes, how do you say, it's a very strange place it has got into. We have that whole phase in world history in the 1930s when fascism was rampant and Nazism was rampant, and what Susan Sontag categorized as fascinating fascism through the cinematic work of Leni Riefenstahl and the possibility of mesmerizing millions, in dark halls, just like being on a psychiatrist's couch and getting this hypodermic needle into you of some kind of ideological stuff. Today that seems even more a possibility, but nevertheless the technology has changed, and like he says, social media does most of those jobs. And the question of challenging some of these premises through counter-work, like I would consider what you have done a kind of a counter-propaganda and a counter process through media that's otherwise dominated and held by multinational corporations and all kind of vested interests. So where is a space for that? Is there a space for doing more such counter work in contemporary political, what do you call it?
I mean, I think there's always space for that. Otherwise, where are we going? You know.
But that's a question you asked. Where are we going? You don't know where you are.
I think it requires, rather than just reacting, it requires some reflection. I mean, I'm definitely thinking about it. Even today, with all of the post-truth, James O'Keefe, I feel a little bit like, I don't think we're doing the same thing as James O'Keefe, sort of entrapping people. I mean, everything that we did in this film happened in a public space with people running for president. There were dozens of cameras in the same moment when we were filming with all of these people. No one is saying anything that they wouldn't say to thousands of voters in Iowa trying to gain their vote. It's what we did with creating the extra narrative of Jeanine that gives meaning to what's happening. I actually, as somebody who makes documentaries and fiction, I wonder if it's a time to sort of go back to fiction,
Yeah, fiction would get closer to the idea of a different kind of truth, if you want. We have probably about 15 minutes, so I would like to open the floor. Please raise your hands, and I will choose, and the mic will go there, and only then you respond, please. Okay, since Ganapati is already up, over to you. But please announce your name and then ask the question.
My name is Ganapati Ramakrishnan. The film gives a sense of hopelessness because Americans are very good at creating win-win situation, even in hopeless situations. The best example is how Abraham Lincoln kept the country united, got the Emancipation Proclamation passed by his persuasive brilliance. Whereas here, the present situation, everybody is so abrasive, whether it is Romney or Trump or the contending parties. Is it not possible for America to create a win-win situation by their persuasive brilliance? This is very important because America has created the capitalism plus welfare state. It has not been possible anywhere else or to such an extent, so that it has so many jobs for the immigrants. Why can't we create a win-win situation by using the persuasive brilliance or behaving like Abraham Lincoln?
That's a good question.
Here, please, in the second row here. You want to respond? 1 second, I think.
Well, I would question some of the assumptions in your question, which is about perennially or consistently creating win-win situations. I think one has to look at who is winning and who is not. And it would be a real stretch to say that under all circumstances, with all the policies enacted, with all the different administrations or regimes in charge, that everybody won. I don't think anybody would really try and assert that. If you want to take a really broad brush look at American history, the accumulation of wealth and capital was built very much on the system of slavery, the expropriation of resources. There was no such thing called human rights. And it's not just in America. Let's not demonize America. It's true in Europe as well. If you look at the foundations of the Industrial Revolution, it was built on taking away colonialism, as well as even internally the movement to end feudalism. It sort of you were taking away property and land and resources away from a lot of people, and so I would question that point about a win-win. What I would definitely say that America has done remarkably well is to be innovative, to really adopt technology in a sort of aggressive way, which has benefited its citizens. And you have had very enlightened presidents who have done a lot to distribute the benefits of growth to a wider distribution within the population. It's not true of all times again and all presidents. So yeah, I would challenge that, not just again in America, but in any country, even in India. So.
Right, thank you.
We really enjoyed your film as well as the discussion, and both the Hindu and the consulate offices, really the Twin Towers of Tamil Nadu. And I sincerely hope that our Consul General Phil, Mr. Phil Min, has been promoted to his Manila. I'm not sure whether he... And Mr. Menon, as you rightly said, we still don't know why our voters continue to choose our hero as heroines as the chief ministers. It's an enigma wrapped around mystery. And Ms. Grace, you thanks for highlighting the importance of healthcare, that too oncology, the breast cancer care in a graceful manner. See, as this gentleman said, America is the leader in academic medicine. Why no party? I mean, why no president is not able to provide a comprehensive healthcare in affordable way? Because we still think that the American companies are exploiting our doctors and bribing doctors and exploiting our population, but whereas the drug prices are very exorbitantly high, especially the oncology drugs and all. What is this problem? How could you? Is there a way to solve this problem?
I'm not an expert in that area, but yeah, I mean, definitely the issues in this film affect me personally. My own husband can't get, he has a pre-existing condition. We had Obamacare, and that's how he could get health insurance. So it's I can't speak to like the policy and all of this thing. I just have, my job as an artist is to like find like the human connection and how do you convey these stories to people.
Right? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kumar. I think excellent movie. Almost till the end, I didn't catch on that Janine was an actress. Just a question on the Michelle Bachmann segment. Did Michelle know that Janine is an actress? In the one, I think in a cafe or a coffee shop.
Right. No, she just saw her as a voter, and I mean, there were some when we played at the Toronto Film Festival. There were a couple people who were very angry in the audience because they were very invested in Janine and not knowing that she was real. But, I would argue that Janine is a real person. She sort of embodied a lot of the questions that were happening at the time. And, I mean, again, our intention was to create something, because I come from documentaries, because she's an excellent actress who can embody the feelings, we wanted to explore I would also ask, are these politicians actors as well? I mean, they're also performing on some level, and it's theater. It's who's, I like to say that this film is part fiction and part real and part fiction, just like politics. So.
Thank you, Venkatesh.
I just want to make a comment on what Sadanand and others talked about, and also in a way connected to your film. So I'm really, what I call, been looking at the media for a long time. I'm skeptical about this whole idea of manufacturing consent, even the so-called post-truth situation, and also what I call this heavy data analysis, psychometrics, and all that. I mean, this was circulating. Problem is this. I think human beings can certainly, phenomenological level, make a distinction between what is the virtual and what is the actual. The problem doesn't lie there. Problem lies in what they wish to be the truth, what they want to, what they wish to be the truth. The problem is, connected that way. You can see there in that particular incident where she goes in and then says, it's okay as long as it's not Obamacare. Remember this instance. The question is, as a GOP, as a lot of Americans, what they wanted to be the truth. That's the issue. And of course, there the media can play a role. It's like, how we want to make sense of the real, and because of what we want. I think the problem is slightly complicated.
Janine is, it's a written script for
Yeah, I know that. I know that. But the point is that instance comes out in the film. I know it's a staged film. I mean, that's quite easy to make out. That's not the issue. But that is there. I mean, that's what I want to put my finger on.
Well, it might take a little time, but just to respond to that, and there's this, what do you call it, extrapolating it onto a human, what do you call, character. I'd like to give an incident of my first day in a newspaper office when I was 22 years old, joining the Indian Express in Chennai, and I was given a particular news to edit. It was a survey report. There is a very big hospital here called the General Hospital, and it has a blood bank. And the blood bank found that there was some peculiar fluctuation in blood donations in the bank. So on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there would hardly be any blood donations. I'm talking about the year 1973. Suddenly on Thursday and Friday, the blood donation will hit the ceiling. And Saturday, Sunday, it will start declining, and by Monday, it will hit zero. And then again on Thursday and Friday, it would pick up. So they employed the Madras School of Social Work to do a survey and find out why this fluctuation was happening. And the students of that college stood in a queue and went around with the survey form and asked all the people in the queue why they were doing it. And it turned out that every pint of blood got 5 rupees in compensation. So Thursday and Friday, people were standing in a queue to donate the pint of blood, get the 5 rupees, and go and catch the first rows in the MGR film that was releasing on Friday. And I remember giving a title to that story saying, "Movies are in their blood." And that's what got me my job. So now, this is not human. Human condition is hunger. With that 5 rupees, you can go and buy food. But instead you're going and... No, I'm sorry, that ability is vanishing fast. Yeah, we can. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's not very well known because my personal incident. It's my incident, so it's not very well known. Anyway, the point is today those distinctions are eliding. No, those who believe that distinction is very clear, I think are deluding themselves because that distinction is vanishing. Well, whatever. We'll have a different debate on that. One second. Yeah.
So on this, again, it's interesting because, again, the analysis of President Trump's campaign actually, in line with the anecdote I mentioned earlier, was that the algorithm actually required him to put out, again, this is in the investigation, not my words. This algorithm required him to put out multiple statements and meanings, Yeah, I'm explaining for everyone. So it's required him to put out multiple statements on a single issue. So that would permit his team or the team behind this to then target marketing messages based on whatever part of his message suited that particular voter. So, so what I'm getting at is yes, there'll be certain voters in America, registered Democrats and Republicans who know their party's core values, who know what it can and cannot deliver, and they know the distinction between what is promised and what is being said and what can be delivered. But there are also a very large number of people, independent voters and swing voters who vote across party lines, for whom this is still up for grabs. This is a contested variable within the American electorate. So it's by no means, and to me, the absolutely surprising victory of President Trump is an indication of someone tapping into this ambiguity or this gray zone and being able to translate it into votes.
Thanks. Yeah.
I have a question first for Ms. Gracely. Given that this is more about art and film, a very direct question: do you think that this movie had, given that it had been played in different states in America before the 2012 election, I presume, it had any influence, you think, in the turnout in which Obama won and eventually did go a long way in, Obamacare being approved, although it is very short-lived? Just one question.
I mean, if I wanted to flatter myself, I would say yes. But you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people saw the film. I mean, it was on, you know, had a small theatrical release. I mean, I can only, we had this conversation earlier with with Eric, talking about how do you actually measure the impact of a film. I mean, I don't actually believe that films can change the world. You know, I think that actual movements change the world. But I think that there's a way in which art can move people to act or move people to inspire them to look at the world in a different way. That's my answer.
Hi, Grace. I'm Vasundhara from the Hindu Center. I have a quick question about Planned Parenthood. So I was wondering, since you've already shown the film in a bunch of red states, and I'm guessing that opposition to Planned Parenthood was pretty high in those states, you know, the part where the film discusses that Planned Parenthood isn't just an abortion clinic and it provides a variety of healthcare services for all types of women, for all types of issues and diseases. Did you feel that your audience responded positively to the depiction of Planned Parenthood in case they were against Planned Parenthood before? Did it have some sort of an impact in turning them towards Planned Parenthood and support?
You know, in audiences where I think people responded more to Janine and her plight and what she was going through. You know, in the film, we try to expose certain contradictions within her character and the things that she says versus the things that she does. Again, I can't really measure how many people change their minds about Planned Parenthood, but I think that this is a very common narrative about Planned Parenthood that has been, you know, circulating in the news and in the media all over the place, that it's mostly just women's health care. Yeah, so I don't have facts to back up my answer, but I think it's really about people understanding her experience.
My name is Mohan Menon. I wonder if you've seen the serial House of Cards and what Mr. Lakshman mentioned about profiling plays an element. I mean, there is a sequence on profiling and, you know, analytics there. Are there any other portions of that serial that are actually relevant and true to presidential elections?
I actually haven't watched House of Cards, so I don't know if you have.
Sorry, same here. I've just seen like random clips. I haven't seen the whole series.
Damn. Okay.
If you can tell me any specifics, we can try.
You had to watch it.
Okay.
Well, did you know that the creator of House of Cards is spearheading this giant movement to impeach Trump? There's a group called Action Group Network, which, you know, as opposed to the media, I think there's so much organizing happening amongst people who are wondering what to do. And like, I think people have myself included, I'm turning away from social media, I'm turning away from media because I don't really trust what I'm reading anymore. And sort of going back to kind of old-fashioned, like meeting in groups, like face-to-face. Like I made a pledge this year that I'm going to make an effort to actually talk to people more in person. And there is a Bo Williman who created House of Cards that actually has started this Action Group Network. And, you know, several friends of mine went to a meeting in Los Angeles, and basically it's just getting a bunch of people together, you know, who wants to work on various issues, who wants to work on elections, who wants to work on climate change, and then just getting into groups and like having small group discussions and talking about what's the next step. So.
And it's interesting that the former head of Breitbart is Trump's closest advisor. Anyway, any last questions? Yeah, behind that.
Before the film could end, the heightened melodrama element also came to an end. I just want to find out from Grace Lee whether Janine could change her political conviction after enacting that particular role in your fictitious documentary or docu-dilemma.
That's a good question. I actually have this idea of following Janine for like the next 20 years and seeing what happens every 4 years. I definitely think, we're exploring where would Janine be in 2016. She had Obamacare saved her life from cancer. She's, where is she now in terms of, she's looking for love again. She wants to get another job. Where is she? And I think she probably did vote for Trump, but maybe feeling a little bit nervous about that decision right now.
Okay, one last question there.
Hello. Based on the media I follow and the Facebook pages I like, I've always seen that people always, this is the thing I see, that Trump, they always hate Trump, and Obama is what they love. So it was nice to see the other perspective. Janine had her own problems, her own perspective. So the thing you tried to convey here, I got it. So we got into her shoes. But I just want to know, how many people like Janine are there in America?
I think they made this election happen. So, yeah, but I think there's not a cut and dry Janine. I think Janine herself has a lot of contradictions within her. And, yeah, do you want to try?
The first thing to start with is the election numbers. So Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote by nearly 3 million, you know that. So the electorate is pretty, for want of a more specific word, is very divided. And in fact, that was one thing I wanted to ask you about earlier, about how bitterly polarized it is as well. And speech in sort of the election context is very hateful. Yeah. And it's also full of very, deliberate manipulations and falsehoods. Even Michelle Bachmann misspoke, I think misstated the sort of whether the economy has improved or not, or something like that. The facts say otherwise. But I think, in terms of actual numbers, it's sort of evenly split, plus or minus 3 million. But at the same time, you know about the Electoral College and the first past the post system, and the importance of swing states, which basically means that you need to win only in certain areas in order to secure the presidency, which is what happened this time. But I think more looking past the numbers, the bigger question is how many people are really swayed by one ideology or the other, and how many people, importantly, as I mentioned earlier, are in the middle, that gray zone, and they can be won over, and what does it take to win them over? And I think that from my time there, again, a couple of big things, sort of hovering about in American voters' minds. One of them, and I think I would even say that's the same reason for voting President Obama as well as President Trump, is a very sort of visceral hatred of Washington. No offense to the consulate. But they do not believe that Washington, whether Democrat or Republican, is solving their problems. And it has become equated to sort of an elitism, which is very distant from the plight of the common man or woman, which is exactly what the film is about again in some way. Because every time Janine goes there and asks for things, she's frustrated by these, Santorums and others talking about health-saving accounts and sort of almost an abstraction. So that is one big thing that motivates Americans. The other is, of course, which every president taps into, is a sense of security versus insecurity, the debate, and how far are you willing to go, whether in terms of surveillance, closing borders, banning certain categories of people, how far are you willing to go in that regard? And finally, I think, to me, you're going to see a decline in this sort of hatefulness within the election campaigns, only if Americans find some innovative ways to start talking to each other. There's also a virtual shutdown, like you said, and I really, that struck me. You can't trust social media anymore. Janine turns on her Facebook, and what does she see? A picture of Obama with a sickle and a something, and a communism and a baby. Absolutely bizarre extremes of stretching the truth. So I think unless they start talking to each other, and right now they're not, unless you sort of bridge these two very, very extreme, hateful sort of speech silos, the country is probably going to keep repeating this. And Trump, to me, is a manifestation of how intense this feeling is.
Having discussed about
I
myths
think
being
we
created.
have to wind up now. I think if you have a very sharp, quick question, say that.
I just wanted to ask that: are there any myths in India too? As you
Are there
said.
any?
Are there any myths being created in India too?
Are there any mess being created?
Myth.
I think
What do you brought?
myths being created. Well, that's what we are talking about, isn't it? See, elections are coming up in a few days, and you're face to face with all the myths that India is making, and Indian media is making, and Indian politicians are making, and obviously the successful politician is one who can be as evasive as possible and defer meaning as much as possible. And unfortunately, the media becomes an accessory after the fact. And we have a peculiar problem here, unlike probably many other countries, that the media is sold completely on the side of power and big business. There are these smaller spaces which, for some reason, social media here is playing a slightly different role, at least among the younger people and among the student fraternity and so on, to raise their own personal issues. But on the whole, one would agree that the social media has become highly untrustworthy today. The entire, what do you call, the environment of the media, in which we are probably a little more absorbed in cinema and television than probably the other parts of the world are, because there is a moving away, as you say. In Europe, I notice there's a very clear distancing from the media that many young people from the younger generation are doing. But here, the attraction is very, very immediate, and it's very mesmeric. Mm-hmm. And it plays often a very toxic role. It creates, doesn't just manufacture consent, it also is successful in manufacturing riots and hatred and putting communities against each other and so on. And that's become a very sort of successful method here for political practice and political mobilization. So in conclusion, I can only thank you, Grace, for having brought this film, because it brings us close to where we are at also, to see the predicaments that are surrounding us in our political space, which the extremely healthy documentary film media in India is addressing. That's one of the most healthy and respectable movements in India, the documentary film movement. But the other commercial cinema or television is has bought into the power language, lock, stock and barrel. So there's very little space within that. But luckily the documentary movement is alive. Unfortunately, it doesn't get too many venues to show itself. But nevertheless, the practitioners of the documentary medium are really doing a fantastic job in exposing all sorts of issues of the kind that you have brought out. And
I think there's a renewed interest in that too amongst documentary filmmakers in the U.S. We're talking about it as well.
Wonderful. So hopefully we'll get to see other films that you've made too. And if you're continuing following Janine for the next 4 elections, then we'd love to see that. Narayan, thank you very much for your insightful comments. I think having been in the US for so many years and writing about it constantly, I think the sharpness to his insights is very, very valuable for us today. And thank you to all of you, audience, for being such a perceptive and sharp audience. Thank you.